Welcome everybody. I'm here in Greenfield, Massachusetts at J. Richard Roy's martial arts studio. It's an amazing space. Some of you know Master Richard. This is his apprentice, his protege, Sensei Jeff Chaisson. He's running the school while Richard's down in Florida, avoiding some tornadoes. I'm going to ask Sensei Jeff a bunch of questions today, have an interview and a podcast with him, and I hope you stick around. Welcome everybody. I'm here with Sensei Jeff Chaisson. He's running the J. Richard Roy Martial Arts Studio in Greenfield, Massachusetts. I'm delighted to be here, ask him some questions, and excited for you to get to know him and share with us and be with us as we go through this podcast interview. So, Sensei Jeff, thanks for your time. Really enjoy being here with you. I'd just like to ask you if you would tell people how you and I met.
Sure. So I've known of you for a long time before we ever actually met in person, but it was through Sifu Roy. First time we met face to face was in 2016. You were out this way running some great seminars.
Yeah, and then we've been in email and text contact and phone calls. I really enjoy talking to you, and it's been great. So would you tell our audience, a little bit of some of the styles, some of the practices you do, and when did you start, and basically your martial arts biography.
Yeah, I started doing American style karate September 1st, 4:30 p.m. 1994. I remember the exact time. A little bit of reverse engineering. I went back. I knew the day of the class, but September 1st, 1994, I started American style karate with Sifu Roy. Here we were downstairs at the time, but in this building. I've been doing that ever since.
How old were you then?
I was 10.
10.
When I started. Wow. Sifu Roy takes students on usually around the 7. It was the earliest back then. I had to beg my parents for like 3 years, prove that I was going to stick with it. They let me start, but I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
So I've currently hold a 5th degree black belt in the American karate system. I started doing the modern arnis when I was it was in 2000, it was about 15, 16, around there. It was actually just started working as a lifeguard. So I told Sifu Roy I was going to start to miss a couple of classes because I had a job, and he looked at me and said, you can maybe substitute a little bit. Maybe instead of taking a karate class, take an arnis class. So that was that's how he got me into the arnis classes. And then in 2002, I graduated high school. I remember the day speaking with Sifu Roy. I said, I'm going to be graduating high school in May. I'm going to have all this extra free time because I'm not going to be going to school anymore. I'm free. And he looked at me and he said, oh, that means you have time for the morning Tai Chi classes. Kind of a question, but not really a question. That's how I got started in the Yang style Tai Chi. I've been doing that, and then around the winter of 2004, I started practicing the Bagwajang as well.
Wow.
So I had a little bit of a hiatus when my first son was born. I pulled back from most everything but the American style karate for a little bit. But other than that one little blip, I've been practicing all 4 of those styles.
4 styles. And do you teach them here?
I teach the American style karate, the modern arnis, and the Yang style Tai Chi. I do teach here the Bagwajang. I'm still acquiring. Someday. I hope to be able to offer it, but that day's not today.
Why do I have a funny feeling you'll be teaching the Bagwajang as well? I'm going to make that prediction. So here's a question. Sometimes it can be a difficult question, but my question to you is, so who's your favorite teacher?
Well, I'm a little spoiled in that, and it's a pretty obvious answer because Sifu Roy is the only one who I've really trained with directly. he went and found Master Leong and Professor Praces and Sensei McCade, and he traveled and brought so much into one place that, like I said, I kind of feel like I'm spoiled because I never had to search. So Sifu Roy would obviously be that person for me because I've been doing nothing but training with him since 1994.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unique. I mean, not that Greenfield is very far away. It's only a couple hours from Boston, but it is kind of out of the way. And yet to be able to train all these different styles with somebody who's trained with the best. Would you share a couple of Sifu Roy stories with us? Maybe, I don't know, some of his wisdom, or if he's your favorite teacher, I want to hear why.
Well, he can be an intense guy, and I think that's always kind of resonated well with me. He's kind of always trained everyone in a way where you come into the studio, you get trained to be the next master. Now it's up to the individual to kind of step up to the plate and bring the student to the equation. But the way that he's always kind of gone about teaching is you're going to get like the whole, the real, the training, and whoever kind of ends up being that next superstar, it's up to the student at that point to do so. So I think that's kind of always been my favorite thing about him is like he doesn't hold back. If he gives you a critique, it's because he cares, and if he gives you a compliment, he's definitely not pandering.
Right.
It's if he says it, he means it. So
you earned it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And do you feel he brings that intensity to all the styles?
Oh yeah, yep.
So that's his personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, got a funny Richard Roy story?
Oh God, a funny Richard Roy story.
Yeah, I mean, if he's watching, we want to, I know he'll be watching.
I don't know if I have a funny one that comes directly to mind. Like I said, I started training with him when I was 10. The guy's basically a father to me at this point.
Yes.
But a funny, I have to come back to that.
All right, we'll come back to that. And it's a hard question. Who's your favorite teacher? But for you, it was a very easy one. I'm really happy for you. So what is your daily practice like? What do you if you have free time or not free time, you can practice whatever you like or whatever you have to practice. What does a daily practice regime look like for Jeff?
Daily practice regime for me, because everything kind of boils down to 4s or 8s. So there are 8 karate forms. In the modern system, there's 8 empty hand and 4 stick. In the Bagua systems, there's 8 changes. So what I'll usually rotate is like on day 1, I'll do the first karate form and the first empty hand and the first stick and the first changes, and I'll kind of rotate through so that I'm trying to hit all of those. And then the weapons forms, I'll kind of, I don't hit them every day, but I'll make sure that I try to rotate through and get through to anything that I haven't touched in a while. And then I normally have something that like I'm actively working on. Those things will kind of get a little bit more attention. Like right now I'm trying to clean up the second Yinfu set for the Bagua system, so it'll get more than just that kind of rotation that it goes. The Sungung has been pretty transformative for me, so I try to make sure I get to the 21 more often than the other things. So depending on what I'm kind of workshopping, I guess at the time, typically tends to get a little bit more.
And you get plenty of training to go through the different forms by class. But yeah, I'm always curious about what is your personal practice and how you go about it. So I really like that 4s and 8s. Do you do anything differently seasonally? Do you have a different winter versus summer training?
Winter versus, not really. Winter versus summer, the main thing that'll happen is I'll go into my backyard because there's no more snow, and I'll twirl staff around. Kind of hard to twirl a staff around inside my house.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously plenty of room here to do it. But I'd probably say weapons get more attention during the summer than they do in the winter, but it's mainly because of the space constraints.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. I mean, you know, not too many people have the luxury of like ceilings this high. How high are these? These got to be 20 feet or something.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, you could definitely do a lot of weapons training here. So here's another one of my. It can be a tough question, or maybe not. What is your happiest memory?
You know, I was thinking about that one, and it's gonna sound so cliche. My wife and I, when we got married, while on our honeymoon, we went to Disney World. Since then, we brought our kids back there a couple times. My parents have, they do every few years, they'll bring the whole clan. The two of them, me, my wife, my two children, my brother, his wife, now his two children. He just had another child, so there's 10 of us total.
Wow.
We actually have plans to go down in a couple months again. So I don't know if I would pick out a singular moment, but I think the whole clan trips down to Disney World of all places is it's got to be one of my favorite things. It's where some of my best memories come from. Is just spending time with the family in a place where they just want you to have fun.
Wow. No, that's sweet.
That's where I don't work for Disney.
Right. It's a shameful plug for Disney. So, you know, you and I, we had a really good discussion the other day. I wish I had taped it, and hopefully I can get to pull this information out of you again. But I like to talk about teaching on Zoom. You know, my own thing with the media, the podcast, and doing Zoom classes. And I know you've been doing Zoom classes. And one of my basic questions is, what do you see as the strong points and weak points, or what do you see teaching martial arts or you know, learning martial arts or working with Zoom? I'd love the audience to hear what I heard in the office from you, which was excellent. So your ideas, your thoughts on teaching Zoom.
So when the pandemic happened, that was kind of, you know, kicked all of us into online mode. I have other work that I do, so I kind of ran into some time constraints, and when I started to do everything, it worked out because when we got back into classes, we still weren't doing contact. So we were training basics and forms, and if we were doing pad work, it was usually kicks because we were further away from people.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we weren't really doing, you know, in close joint locks and grappling and stuff like that. So the folks in the room and the people at home essentially had the same experience because we didn't have robust partner training. So what I had done was essentially I would wear an earpiece. I would log into, I use Google Hangouts, it's the same thing for the most part. But I'd have people log into the online, and I would have my phone hooked up for the audio, and I'd run it through an earpiece, and then I'd be in the room, and pretty much everybody would get the same instruction. I'd be able to keep an eye on the room. I'd always make sure to turn and make sure to give some critique for the folks at home too. And it was a good way for everyone to be able to enjoy the same class. It worked well for the time being, for what it needed to be. A couple things that I wish I'd done a little bit differently was the audio, because running it through the earpiece was a little disjointed. You know, the folks in the room, if they had a question, sometimes the people in the computer didn't hear it. Or if the people in the computer were talking, they'd be in my ear and nobody else could hear it. So I'd have to kind of like repeat a question and dive into material. I would have liked to have maybe ran it so that the audio from the computer had speakers in the room, and then I just talked through the earpiece. Would have been a better way to go about it. But then also, what I ran into when we did start to go back into like joint locks and grappling and a little bit more close partner work, it didn't really work so much for the folks at home anymore. And had I had the time, what I would have loved to have done was actually have online classes and in-person classes and not commingle the two at that point. I think the biggest challenge for online training is onboarding, bringing in a new student who's fresh. There's no substitute for being in the room with a teacher. There's just none. But you know, we're moving in a direction where the online is a bigger thing, and you know, maybe if I want to train with someone who's in California and I'm Massachusetts, I'm never going to have that opportunity.
Right.
I mean, this gives that opportunity to have that. But getting new students up to speed without being able to have the hands-on connection, it's probably the biggest challenge. It's a huge challenge. Having kind of like a library of material for folks to kind of be able to poke through with their own leisure discretion, I think would be a huge gain there too. So the way I did it and the way I would want to do it were kind of two different things. If I were to redesign the wheel, I would have kind of a library of stuff that new folks could come in, and it would be, you know, geared to the individual coming in. And then I would have had a separate block for online classes and then in-person classes. I wouldn't have commingled the two.
And like you said, the joint locks and the partner work weren't working for the people at home. Was that because they didn't have a partner?
Yes. I did have a couple people who actually did. Like I had a father-daughter combo, and then a boyfriend-girlfriend combo who would log in. It was great because they'd make up their own training spaces at home. They'd have their own, they like bought their own punching bag, and
Cool.
like they'd be able to actually do the partner work with me while I was doing some of the stuff. But outside of that, yeah, it's if you're an individual person logging in, it's tough to, you know, joint lock yourself.
Exactly. And then again, sometimes you need to have it done to you, to feel it, how it's supposed to work. And I find this, and I'm asking you this too. I didn't realize how much of intuitive teaching I do in person. Like, you know, I can look out of the corner of my eye. I got eyes in the back of my head. There's a lot of teaching techniques that we use in person that go right out the door for Zoom. Have you run across that?
Very much so, because like you said, if I'm in the room, I can kind of see the whole room, but the way that I had done it with having the room and the Zoom class running at the same time, it would almost be that I had to like shut one or the other off. So I would have to like stop paying attention to the room so I could look at all the individual screens and see if I went out of my way to try to make sure to give the folks at home a correction, because you gotta have that. But if I was in the computer, I was in the computer, and if I was looking at the room, I was looking at the room. So it was almost like you couldn't split your attention.
Yeah. No, it's I think it's I don't know if it can never replace in-person classes. I'm really looking, and I really appreciate your input. I'm looking at how to have it as a facet or a part of my teaching. But you know, the Sufis always say, "Don't send a kiss by messenger," and it's, you know, sometimes Zoom is like that. You need the experience. So hey, here's another hard question for you. But you are doing very well. Do you have a favorite style or form, or you know? I know it's like picking between your kids. But do you have a favorite style, form, training, practice, weapon? And you can have a couple, more than a couple. What are some of your favorite things?
That really is a tough question, because a lot of it it's because I train in different arts. It's almost like, what's my mood for the day? I would have to say that lately I have been gravitating towards the Taiji. I feel like I've been working on my body structure and my relaxation and my alignment, and trying to develop just the canister that I'm in. Not in a way where, you know, the punchy, the kicky. It's not that that's not developmental, but that's like, you know, weightlifting. I've been more interested in trying to develop the quality of the canister that I'm in, not just the strength of the canister that I'm in.
Right.
So I've been gravitating a lot more towards the Taiji these days. So the Sola form has been getting a lot of practice. The 21 I've been trying to develop. You know, I'm what I would consider to be a beginner at that part right now. It is trying to get the whole
Qigong
fascial body thing going on. But at the same time, sometimes you gotta love the flashy forms. One form that will always hold a soft spot in my heart. It was one of the first weapon forms I learned, monkey staff.
Oh, wow.
Love monkey staff.
Now, you know, Richard and I, Sifu Richard and I, we learned that together from
Nice.
Leon Kei. We were in the same class on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was when I started doing the Taiji. After I graduated from high school, what Sifu Roy would do, he would like have a summer project. This is going to be the summer project that we do this year. So after the Taiji classes in the morning, the summer project for would have been 2002 was monkey staff.
Nice.
So that was the one that I got. I love monkey staff.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, you know, I got one more question for you, and it's a loaded question, and there's no wrong answer because it's just totally, you know, from you. So Sensei Jeff, you are looking in your magic crystal ball. What do you see?
My magic crystal ball. Someday I'll be teaching the Bagujang, because what I'm trying to do is to acquire. I want to acquire the system for my teacher, and I can't remember the author, but it was a Taoist writing. He basically kind of referred to himself as like I'm just a person. I don't own anything. I don't have anything. I'm just a custodian for the stuff that I have, the material that I acquire. I'm just looking after it for the time with which I'm here. So my crystal ball, God's willing and all things considered, would involve someday, I got the gourd from my teacher, and I put my little polish on it, and someday in my crystal ball, I'm handing that gourd off to somebody else. So that would be my crystal ball if I've got any say in the matter.
Well, that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well, I want to thank you again for doing this, and I know that people will find it, they will enjoy it as much as I am enjoying it. Stay tuned. There's much more podcasts coming. I do have a couple more episodes with some other people I've already filmed, and got some upcoming ones. And I would like to come back and do another one with you. My next time back, and you answered the question so easily. I'm going to have some really hard ones next time. So thank you again.
I still owe you a funny story of Sifu Roy. I'll get that one for the next one.
Yeah. Oh, I won't forget. I won't forget. So until then, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Remember to subscribe, like, share, all those good things. I really appreciate your time and attention and your support and your appreciation. I really appreciate the comments, the feedback. This has been so fun for me, meeting with all these people and doing the podcast, and then also hearing your insights and feedback and some stories. So be careful, because I might be interviewing you next. So until then, practice hard and be well.